Tea time.
Well,
You can stay after school.
what?
Brian,
Can I stay less
you
time?
can stay after school.
Is he gonna
Wesley.
put Chrissy up on the board?
Are we
Oh, she's not gonna be zooming? Okay.
coming stupid? I'm going to call this meeting to order. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is there for the reader. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the February 23rd regular board meeting and the March 17th special board meeting.
I move we approve.
Or second?
Jake's with the second. All right. Any changes to request?
I didn't see any.
I didn't see any.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Need a motion to approve the March bills totaling $1,691,976.90. Anyone want to make a motion?
Yeah,
So-
I'll make
so
a
moved.
motion.
I got Jake's with the motion.
Second.
With the second. Any questions, discussion?
Well, I just wanted to mention, it's almost 200,000. February 2021 is almost 200,000 less than the year before. What did we do that was awesome, or what did we do that we missed?
A lot of it is in salaries.
Okay.
Because we had some big-time salaries, and now and plus, we've had a lot of cancellations, and a lot of our programs aren't running up to,
Okay.
Full course,
So we would
It's a
hope to
mixture of
project that
things.
we could get that back, that 200 spent next year on things that we maybe missed this year.
I would imagine that would be true.
All right.
I noticed our revenues were up. Was that, some COVID money or something that
Yes,
came in, I
yes.
assumed?
And I'm going to talk to you about some more revenues we're going to get.
Okay.
In fact, our fund balance is way beyond what I expected, but unfortunately, it's a one-time thing, so.
Okay.
Okay, that's the only question I have.
Call question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then need a motion to approve the monthly finance reports.
I move that we accept.
Any second?
Yep, I'll do that.
All right, second from Matt. All right, any questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next, we've got the food service. Hi. Next, we've got the food service program review.
Move to accept that report. It was well-written. Thank you, Grace. And open.
Motion to approve, do we have a second?
Okay, go ahead, Matt.
Matt, that was a second?
Yeah.
Questions, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we need to adopt the regular agenda. Do we have a motion?
As, presented?
To my knowledge, yeah, unless anybody wants to make a
Any
change.
changes? No. Carol, do we have any changes to the agenda?
No, not I'm aware of.
Pretty good. Did Brian move?
No.
I'll move we accept the agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Next up on the agenda, reports. We'll begin with the Assistant Superintendent report.
Just have a few things this evening. The fiber project at the high school has begun. So we should start seeing some fiber laid over the next several weeks and as we progress in that. Got pretty well the final details of the sod contract ready to go and ready to begin that project somewhere between the 3rd and the 10th of May. I've got about, I was just doing a little bit of a head count, I've got about 10 projects out or out on bid right now, so it's been pretty busy couple of months. As soon as I get a couple of these under control in the next week or so, I'm planning on starting to work on the mill and overlay of the track, so I should have some more information next month about where we're at in that stage. Most of the departments have just been busy keeping on, a lot of technology being installed in a lot of places. The transportation department had, on March 4th, we had our annual bus inspection. We achieved our over 90% rating again, which was very nice. Just had 2 buses with some minor defects that were quickly addressed.
Yeah. Dr. Lorenz, I'd read that it looked like the inspector actually broke a hatch.
Yeah, one of the issues, the inspector,
One of the 2. Mhm.
those hatches are made to put your hand on, and the safety hatches and push open. Well, he took it and smacked it and cracked it.
The inspector did?
Yeah, the inspector did, and we still got knocked for it. So I guess even when the inspector breaks it, you still get the knock for it. That was one of the 2.
Did
So,
they pay for it?
No.
no, they didn't pay for it or take it off of our knockoff list, so. But it's been already fixed and repaired. We got the last bus installed, activity trip bus installed with Wi-Fi. So we have Wi-Fi on bus 14, 21, and 28. And then we have some portable units that we float around for other places that need it. So that's nice to have all those activity buses Wi-Fi'd out. We were just in the beginning stages. We're kind of watching to see how the COVID CARES money comes out, but we are looking at the possibility of 5 or 6 buses. If the COVID money comes through, we're in need of, we got off schedule last year. 5 years ago when I first got here, we picked up 5. They hadn't gotten any for quite a while, and we had hoped and planned to go out there 5 years with that and didn't do 5 more, and we were hoping to do that last year, and things didn't turn out so well. But I think with some monies that may be coming available to us, we're back on that hunt again. So. One other issue that we'll probably be discussing in the coming months is the trailers. We lease currently, this particular issue is the 3 trailers that we lease at Beaker. They are in a position that they want to get them off their books, so they want us to sign off that these next 2 yearly payments that we've been paying to lease, that we lease to own at the end of a 2-year period. So they recognize and understand, as I do very clearly, that we have a number of trailers that are probably in their 5 or 6 year window of end of life. So there'll have to be some decisions made over the next 3 or 4 years about what we do with the trailers that we're still using. The 3 trailers in question at Beaker, I believe that we should probably go ahead and take them up on their offer of owning them after the next 2 payments. But I would still say that at that time period, we're probably in a window of 3 to 5 years that we'll have to start thinking whether we're ready to buy more trailers to replace some of these or move a different direction. So that's the only other issue that I think that I have outstanding. The rest is just a lot of information about different bids that I'm working on, from boilers and technology to pest control and banking bids and elevators, and it goes on and on. The list goes on and on. So that's all I have, unless you have any questions.
No questions for Dr. Lorenz?
I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just making sure we didn't have any questions for you.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lorenz. It's hard to hear. We'll move on to the superintendent report. Dr. Mayer.
Okay. Do I have this on here?
He's bringing it up.
Thank you. Okay, very good. I have a very special group here this evening. as you know, we have talked about, the central office administration has talked for a couple of years now about our Grow Your Own Teachers program. And we were treated to a presentation today at the central office. And this was after this group traveled to the Optimist Club previously and got rave reviews and represented our school so well that I asked them to come and just present quickly to the board about where the program is and how the program is growing, since they are a group of aspiring teachers. And I heard that several of them said, and we want to come back to Marshall. So that's exactly what we would hope that this program would do. So would the Ed Rising and Ms. Callanan, would you come up, please? You know, you guys, oh, you got the microphone. Great, thank you.
You're all right, you can put your back to us.
Well, I'm Danielle Callanan. I'm the Ed Rising Advisor and the Teaching Professions Instructor. So we have our club and then we also have our class. These ladies take a 3-hour block with me and I'm going to let them do the talking because they have a presentation here and they're amazing. So
Dan, Ms. Callahan, did you push the button on that? Okay,
it
good.
says it's on.
Okay, good, thank you.
Hi, my name is Taylor Boyd, and I'm the Vice President of Ed Rising, and this is our Teaching Professions class.
I'm Kylie Allen, and I'm the president.
I'm Liberty Gottmer, and I am the Service Coordinator.
And I'm Adrienne Keller. I am the secretary.
Okay, so our Teaching Professions class is offered for juniors and seniors through the SCCC. It's a 3-hour block class, and this class is for students interested in becoming teachers or figuring out that they don't want to become teachers. In this class, we experience practicum experiences, we earn dual credit, and we just have lots of fun. So some things that we learn about are finding our why, our reason that we want to become teachers, our careers in education, the ethics, the classroom management, child development, a lot of barriers to education, and lesson planning, instruction, and curriculum, and history of education. We do a lot of the lesson planning through our practicum, so that helps with the hands-on experience with those 3 right there. Going back to our practicum experience, we go on Mondays and Thursdays from 7:45 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. And some tasks that we do during our practicum, we're kind of like an assistant teacher. We can grade and make projects and plan with our teacher and do bulletin boards and interact with our students and build relationships. Right now we're working on creating a lesson so we can be able to teach a lesson sometime this month, hopefully by the end of the month.
So this class is dual credit. Intro to Teaching is one of the credits in practicum. All of our credits go through Missouri Valley here in town.
Okay, what is Educators Rising? So we kind of explained that it's an organization for emerging educators. Some things we do are we attend monthly meetings, we do monthly activities, complete service projects throughout the community. We also get to compete in state and national competitions, which I'll talk about later. This year we got to attend virtual conferences, which would usually be held in person, but we get to interact with professors and educators all throughout the state and the country. Okay, so with monthly meetings, basically we just discuss what we plan to do in the future. We talk about the activities and the feedback that we've already done to see how it will go next year and if we should continue. We also, recently we talked about our competitions a lot and just made sure everyone stayed on task and was getting everything that they needed to get done.
So every month we have an activity that we do throughout the organization. We've done things such as a movie night, Thanksgiving feast, We did cookie decorating. For January, we did a picture scavenger hunt that we put together on a slideshow to share with the class. For February, we were supposed to do a teacher's Valentine's heart, but that did not go through. The monthly activity is very fun for us to do because we can connect with all of us outside of the classroom setting, and we can also connect with the other class in the afternoon. The service projects, we do one each semester. First semester, we did reading children's books and we recorded ourselves reading them, and we sent them to the elementary school teachers to use during distance learning. We also did Adopt a Child project for Christmas, and we bought them the presents that they would like. We are doing something for Teachers Appreciation Week, which I'm not going to say because we're not there yet, but we are doing something for that. And we are creating activities for the YMCA for their youth camp during the summer.
Okay, so just this past around 2 weeks ago, we competed in our state competition, and some of the competitions that were entered, Ilse Benitez entered lesson planning and delivering in STEM, as well as myself. Ilse placed second, and I placed third. Taylor participated in exploring support services and placed second. Libby did exploring non-core subjects, as well as Adrian. Libby placed second, and Adrian placed third. Kelly did exploring administration and placed third. Karen did Educators Rising Moment, which is a speech, and Lily did children's literature, K through third grade. So with that, we are all moving on to nationals in June. Would usually be held in Florida, but it's virtual, so.
I'm sorry.
So this is our crew. So this is some pictures of us either teaching at our practicum or observing. I know one of the pictures is us when we came to observe here, the one on the very end. And yeah, these are just some pictures of each of us individually teaching our classes and observing in practicum. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I have an amazing group, and
How,
we appreciate your support.
how many do you have altogether?
We have 8 students.
8.
And this is year what?
This is our second year for the program.
Yeah, great, great.
And our first time competing at state and first time going to nationals. So we're very excited.
Yep,
Good
very
showing.
good, very good.
Very good. Thank you, ladies, very much. It's about time to start talking about salaries with our salary committee and CTA. This is just a real quick schedule that I asked for from our conference. This conference superintendents and then some of their surrounding districts turned in their starting salaries and their master's level column also. Some of them are finished for next year, some of them are not, but I shared this with Mr. Paprick so that we can begin those conversations. One of the conversations that we're going to have to discuss is the ever-rising price of insurance, and that is something that I seem to talk about every year, but I do have a list of districts and how much they pay into each individual's insurance plan, and they are quite high. Most of them are above 600, which is kind of the ceiling that we've placed on ours, but I think I'm going to have to, with the CTA's help, discuss how long do we want to make sure that we try to cover our employees' insurance 100%, and how long will that be able to not affect salaries, which I think that it's going to have, eventually it will have to have an impact. We have received, excuse me, word from the federal government and through DESE that Missouri schools will be receiving over $784 million to split amongst the districts for COVID relief. This money is allocated to districts based on poverty rate, how many students there are in our free and reduced program. It is probably likely that schooling will never really be the same again. We are going to think much more about social distancing and cleanliness, improving the air quality of our schools. And because of that, and because I think we've just learned a lot in the past year, we are looking at, the administration is looking at ways to efficiently and effectively spend this money to help Marshall Public Schools students the best way we can. So some of our allocation is a little bit over 2.1 million, which is a great revenue. It's a great it's a great happening for our district. I was very pleased with how much, I didn't think it would be this much, to be very honest with you. I did email Desi early this morning and said, I just want to make sure that this is the amount and that we can plan on this amount. And the answer to that was yes, that this is the final amount.
That's awesome.
Now, the way that this works is that districts spend and are reimbursed then. There is a relatively easy way to do this, and I went to a school finance seminar, well, it was a webinar last week, and the advice from the state financial individuals was that don't try to overthink this so much. Spend this money on salaries, usually middle school and high school salaries that are not commingled with federal funds, and then you can reimburse yourself for other expenditures that you want to look at to improve your school and to keep it safe for our students. This is it. The 2.1 million is over the 660,000 that we got last year. So we are close to $3 million that we have received in relief, which I can't be thankful enough for that. We absolutely need it. In our very old and wonderful buildings, we have some difficulty with ventilation and air quality. So we're going to look at those things and try to work together to improve that for our students. Our plans then are to fund 2 sessions of summer school. Diane's going to talk about our June session, which is our typical traditional summer school that we have in the month of June. This year, because we feel that we want the community to understand that we are very serious about catching students up and bringing them back to school and giving them as much opportunity for learning as possible, we are also going to have a July session. So I'm excited about that, and I think it will be great for the kids in our community. I know that students who think, oh, great, instead of just 3 weeks of summer school, now we have 6. But we'll see how that goes, but I'm excited for the opportunities. We would like to purchase real estate for a Beaker green space and playground for outside ventilation and social distancing. As you know, the Beaker grounds are not totally conducive to enjoying the outside and to enjoying the green, but we would like to make sure that we try to help the kids at Beaker to be able to enjoy the outdoors more. I think it's going to be very important for us to remember and to strive to bring the outdoors in when we can, and then go outdoors when that's at all possible. We would like to purchase 6 buses, and of course, this is about $600,000, but we do need them. We need them certainly for social distancing. Our activity bus needs to be replaced. We need 2 early childhood buses. So Dr. T, Craig, and I have started that conversation, and we believe that this will put us in a good position. We have, the last 2 years, put off buying or leasing buses because we just couldn't do it at the time. But this gives us an opportunity to make sure that we can socially distance our children. The issue that I'm worried about, though, is the number of bus drivers, we don't have. I know that we need to look at that. I know that we're going to need to figure out a way to make that position either more attractive or more lucrative, one of the two, or maybe both, for community members so that we can hire and keep bus drivers. That's important to our district, and it's important to our extracurriculars.
Dr. Mayor, these are new buses, correct? These aren't going to be pre-leased or anything else?
What?
These would be new
These aren't
buses?
going to be pre-leased, these
No,
are
we're
new
going to be
buses.
looking at new. Before this money became
I know in the past
available,
we talked
we were
about,
looking at some-
buying off lease or buying
Right.
things.
We
that
were
could
looking at
have for
those
a couple of years.
options previously when we didn't know we were going to be
Right.
able to get some ESSER funds. But now that we are, it is time to get back on schedule with the buses that we talked about a couple of years ago, so.
All right, thank you.
DESE still has the program where if you buy new, you can, you can put into a calculation for 8 years, and at the end of that 8 years, you are paid back for the bus.
Right.
Pretty much. So that's still in place. So we've got the revenue at the front end, and that program at the back end is going to be very good for us. So we need to really take advantage of that. We have to, and this has come at a great time also, we have got to replace our HVAC at Eastwood. The boiler there, I don't know how many trips.
Boiler at Beaker.
The boiler at Beaker and the HVAC at Eastwood, how often do you think we go to Eastwood?
We.
Is Amy here?
Both Beaker and Eastwood. Before, we had to do it at Southeast also, but those 3 buildings have always had to have eyes on, hands on every morning that they're running, and to either kick them or kickstart them, or we're probably looking at the system over at Eastwood. We're probably looking at something similar to like we put in at Southeast, and then at Beaker, we're looking at replacing and moving, actually, the boilers at Baker to a more cut out. I don't know if you've ever been down there, but it's a mess of
It's scary.
of piping, and we're going to streamline that flow, put them in a different location where you can access all the way around them, and also put them on a grid that we can bring one boiler offline that we can't do right now. If one has an issue, we have to shut the system down, and we're gonna rectify that in the midst of this change. So and it'll be, both systems will be much more efficient, so that's another long-term effect, positive effect for us, so.
We also want to secure an all-district marquee, a rolling electronic digital marquee to place in front of the central office that will inform the community of different issues, events, and et cetera, things that are going on in the school district, but also keep our community aware and informed of any health issues, what they can do to keep their children healthy at home and at school, what we're doing at school. We think it's important to increase that information and to increase that communication. We've wanted to do this for a long time, and this increasing community awareness and community information is a justifiable expenditure for this money. So I'm excited about that too.
It's not going to be affordable, or is it going to be permanent?
It's going to be
Be
permanent.
fixed.
We're going to, well, I've turned the project over to Dr. Lorenz, but we hope to set up a very nice, attractive one in front of the central office.
Sounds like a plan.
Of course, this one-time federal funding cannot be used for salary schedules. We are doing everything we can to continue. We've had success in the past in continuing to keep our salaries healthy, we feel. This is a one-time revenue, so of course we can't put it into the salary schedule because it'll be there forever. So we have to be careful, and we have to think about things like that. But I wanted to make sure that people understood that and that we all understand that this, yes, it's great revenue. We have some big ticket items that we need to use the revenue for, and we will continue to work with our teachers in the CTA.
Good news.
Yeah, very good.
Great news.
That's it for me.
Anything else?
That's it.
That's it? Okay. Questions, follow-ups for Dr. Mayer?
So,
Okay.
so the one question I do have is, you said these had to be spent first and reimbursed later.
Mm-hmm.
Did they talk about in your webinar, or your training session, like what that turnaround was? That's like a 60-day turnaround? Is that like a government turnaround?
You have to have everything, the expenditures have to be in or encumbered by September of '22.
Okay.
So there is
There's quite a lengthy
there's
window.
quite a turnaround time, yes.
Okay.
Because I believe that most districts will be doing large projects, probably construction projects. There's a lot of talk about upgrading and improving buildings and projects that aren't done over a weekend.
All right. Thank you.
Carol, I have a question on summer school. Who's eligible and what's the criteria to get the NDEM?
And Ms. Gillespie is going
I was
to
gonna
talk
say,
about
yeah.
summer school in a little bit, but we
Okay.
hope that we can allow all children to come to summer school, anyone who wants to.
Okay.
And
All right, thank you.
under new business? All right. Other questions, follow-ups?
Is have we checked on that property there, Beaker?
Yes, I'm in, that's one of my 15 things that I'm working on right now. We're in the surveying stage to make, the property line is very, I want to make sure that.
Is this closed
I
session?
believe what we were
It's
talking
closed.
about may be a real estate
Can't talk
parcel
about-
Oh, I'm
purchase.
sorry.
So we probably shouldn't discuss that
Sorry.
yet because we can't do that.
Sorry, yes, thank you. Sorry. But we're in discussion.
Good question.
It used to be me.
Good question, a little better time.
A little ways down the road. Other questions, comments, follow-ups? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Mayer. Additional program reports, anything that we wanted to follow up on from CTA, PDC, special ed, curriculum and instruction. We do have a report coming from Ms. Gillespie a little later on under new business related to curriculum and instruction, and then data analysis and dissemination. Probably worth highlighting, since we've just had the report from Ed Rising, that CTA reports that they donated $100 to help the students cover the expenses of the upcoming competition.
I saw in the PDC report that we're getting our annuals in as well. It looked like our dyslexia training was going around. It looks like this month to be completed. So we'll be fulfilling our requirements for our PDC. And Jim had a rather long report.
Oh, my gosh.
Don't know if you all had your calculators out and pens, but there's about 10 or 12 pages whenever that gets released to you all of quite a bit of information for review, so.
Yeah.
And I am working on a bulleted summary of that report. I tried to get it done for tonight's meeting, but I just couldn't.
I can imagine why.
I can't imagine.
So I'll send you a summary of that.
Great.
I'll try to do that right away.
At least he had pictures.
Graphs, yes. All right, any other questions, follow-ups, et cetera, for the additional program reports? Then let's move on to the principal's reports from Ms. Vaughn and Ms. Alberson. And let's see, where's our microphone at? You got it back up there? Great.
Yes. It's green on the button if you hit the button.
Sorry. Okay, good evening. So we, Kim and I talked, and we decided that we wanted to talk about Acellus and kind of how it's working in our building and some of the things that we're doing. Just an overall of our distance learners. Right now, we have 14 kindergarten kiddos that are distance learners, 8 first grade students that are distance learners. And we found that our kids were flying through it. Like, we were having to tell our parents, you need to slow down, you need to follow the progression. We've tweaked a few things. But as of now, we have, in the 4 core areas, math, science, social studies, and ELA, we've had to reposition 14 kiddos in at least 2 areas. And what that means is we started them at second semester, because that's when Acellus started. So when they flew through second semester and got done, we repositioned them back to the beginning of the year, in case they missed anything at any other point in the year. So basically now those kiddos who are being repositioned are moving through the progression from August through December. And it has helped. It's slowed them down a little bit. And you can decide if you want it to be a little bit more difficult, just normal, or easier. So when we're repositioning, we're putting it so it's a little bit more difficult for them as well, because what they're working on should be a little easier for them. So that's really helped. And only one kiddo has been repositioned in only one area. So basically there's 7 kids who haven't been repositioned in K and 1 in some area. I think when I looked through the papers today, there's only a couple kids that are a little bit behind. And I'm not talking like way behind, just a little bit behind. So the teachers are working on motivating them and getting them to do it. But it's going well for our kids. They are keeping caught up. And then the teachers are also giving them supplemental things to do. Some of them are bringing in kids for reading groups or things like that on Wednesdays. Early childhood, we have 8 of the kiddos that are doing Acellus, and 3 of the 8 are finished from the beginning to the end. So Mrs. Roeder, who is the teacher who's kind of overseeing that, her and I talked a little bit today, and we're gonna get together tomorrow when we have a little bit more time, uninterrupted time, to kind of see what we can do for those kids as well, because we did start them at August. And so we're gonna see what we can do to help those kiddos out. Do you have any questions on that part of Acellus for Kim or I?
What's retention like? How
I'm
are you
sorry?
guys gauging retention? They're flying through the material. Are
They
you-
get grades, they're scored. So I met with all of my staff we met with the staff last Wednesday, and I had them go through and look if kiddos were scoring like 83 or below, to go in and see where they're scoring that low at. And then there's special lessons that Acellus offers. So we went through and we're assigning those special lessons to them. And then so that's kind of the way we're looking at that. And then they're also bringing those kids in for assessments, the quarterly assessments, the DORA, the DRA, and kind of going from there too, to make sure that they're keeping caught up.
And so the flip side of that, for the students who have just flown through it and are getting the exceptionally high marks.
Yeah. There's no way for us to gauge that the kids are actually doing the work. That's the hardest part about it. But we're hoping by bringing them in and checking their assessments, and which this is just the end of 3rd quarter, so this would have been the first time we would have done that. So I'm not sure exactly, honestly, where those kids are falling in the assessments compared to the other kiddos. We've not got into that conversation yet.
It
but
sounds
we
like
are-
you're getting there, though.
We are watching it and keeping track of it and bringing kids in.
Are those kids going to come in for testing, like math testing or those?
Well, we don't do math testing
Oh, not
here,
at your grade level.
but
Yes,
they
okay.
are having to come in and do any of the regular
Your
testing.
regular testing at your.
And we've not had any trouble getting our kiddos in. Most of them have been pretty, parents are okay with it. We bring them in. If there's any issues, we use the conference room, so they come right in, they go to the conference room, and they leave right through the conference room. So it's worked pretty well. Something else that Spainhour is doing with Acellus is on Wednesdays, and this is more for our in-seat kids. Some of those in-seat kids that were distance learners in the fall, who may not have stayed caught up or made the ground we wanted them to make, we bring them in on Wednesdays for a 2.5-hour block of intervention. So we have 21 students total that come in between K and 1. There's 9 kindergartners and 13 first graders. And these kids come in, they were recommended by their teachers. I just asked the teachers, do you have any kiddos that you think would benefit coming in on a Wednesday for some time with Acellus and you? And that's where the numbers came from. Craig's been really good about, I'll be like, oh, I got a new kid. Can we add him to the bus? Because most of them are bused in. And he's worked really well with us, like very last minute, worked really well with us. So that's helped. Basically, they come in, they have an 8:30 to 11 and 11:30 till 2. They do about 40 minutes of math, then they get a 10-minute brain break, bathroom, run around, whatever. Then they do about 40 minutes of ELA, then about a 10-minute break. Then they go back to the class, and that's with paras or some of our non-classroom certified teachers. Then their classroom teacher comes and gets them, and they go to the classroom and they work on specific skills that teacher knows that they need outside of the Acellus. So it's really one-on-one. Maybe, I think there might be a few teachers that have 2 kids, but it's very small groups, very intentional, that they're with that teacher for 50 minutes. And they get a snack during that time, and then they go home. And then in the afternoon, we do it again. I put on here our average attendance for those kids is about 85% of them coming in. Some of them, you know, if they're sick, because if they have a temp, they can't be here for 72 hours, or whatever, you know, when it was raining so hard, parents didn't bring them in because it was raining, that kind of thing. But overall, 85%, which I think is pretty good. So, other things that go on Wednesdays, we have EL kids that come in, we have title, we have SPED kids that come in, kids that come in for speech and language, and then, once again, like I said, the classroom teachers are also just pulling kids in, getting a hold of parents to get those kids in, to give them that extra little attention, because we know we've missed a lot of school and they're behind, so. The last thing we do out here for interventions for our kids is owl time. We do that every morning. It's 15 or 20 minutes for kindergarten, 15 or 20 minutes for first grade. We're getting ready to assess. We assess every 4 weeks to determine their progress. And then their groups move based on the data that we get from them. So they might be working on one thing for 4 weeks, and then if they make the progress we want them to make in the progression that Mrs. Baker and Kim and I came up with, then they move on. If not, then they stay there and they keep working on that skill.
I can just add, for OWL time, it's all ELA focused, so since we are kind of the building block with preschool, kindergarten, and first grade, we're focusing a lot on phonemic awareness and really building those foundational skills where they can identify sounds and manipulate beginning and ends of words, find those medial sounds, and really hone in on those skills that they need so they can be successful readers. So that's kind of what our focus is for OWL time.
And the last thing I want to share with you is just some fun staff that we do. I am a firm believer in building culture and a fun environment for staff to work in. And it's been a little bit difficult this year because group size, our Wednesdays are really busy at Spainhauer. So early in the month, I told my staff that last week and this Wednesday, they were required to block out from 7:30 to 8:30. No kids coming in, nothing. It's team building. A couple Fridays ago, I don't know, celebrated isn't the word, but we acknowledged that it had been a year of COVID, like the 1 year, whatever you want to call it, around March 13th. I don't know what it is, negative. So we did a Zoom dress day where they dressed professional on top and comfy on bottom.
Oh, funny. That's funny.
A lot of people did it. Then last week we did, I had lots of positive feedback from last week. We kind of started the day with what's positive bombardment. I had 9, I had my leadership team, Kim and I, and then I picked a few others that were in charge of groups of 5 to 6 people. And they went all over the building, and basically each group, if I was in a group, everybody in the group would compliment me. Like say, Renee, you know, you don't know this, but you do this. Or so it's just basically you're getting bombarded with positive things about you. Very moving. I've done it a couple different times. So in the end, you have 6 people telling you how great you are. And it's very affirming, I think might be the word. I heard there were tears, which every time I've done it, there's been tears because some people don't take compliments, don't think about that so much, that they're really good at those things. But it went well. We will, they don't know it, but we'll probably do it again, in different groups, split them up, because it's very, April's a rough month, so we'll probably take a day in April and do it. And then we came up with a snack and drink table, and they loved it. Tomorrow, I'm not gonna tell you what tomorrow is, because they don't know what tomorrow is, so it'll be a surprise for them, but, that's kind of where we're at with staff, Acellus, and interventions for our kids out here. Do you have any questions,
I appreciate the communication about Acellus. We had to go on what we heard when we approved that. And so hearing from you guys that are in the trenches using it and doing it, it really does, it helps affirm that we've made the right, or a good decision for the kiddos in our district, so.
I wish we've not done it long enough to know the impact that it's actually having, especially our Wednesday kids, but it can't be hurting anything.
Great.
It can't be hurting
Yep,
anything.
I really appreciate hearing about it, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okey-dokey. Next, we've got the substitute pay committee report.
I don't know that I'm really supposed to present. You got it in the packet. I got a printed copy, but I left it on the printer, so I can pull it up on my phone. Do you have questions about any of it?
How many people were on the committee? Just curious.
What do you say?
Everybody's raising their hand or looking around? 5? Okay. Were they all administrators?
Yes,
It looked like?
initially,
We'll
but
get
then
it.
we took the proposal to Mindy and Jim, and then I think Mindy got feedback from her, kind of for
So I had read in your report so you did get to already see this?
Yeah.
Then, okay, in the CTA report, it just said that you wanted to review the substitute pay committee report or something, but you've already seen it then.
Yeah, no, I put, and this was actually,
I'm sorry to be addressing.
recommendation, but we kind of talked about it, that, that this is a big change, and so we just asked for maybe to allow the teachers at large to have a look at it or some ideas, that was kind of what our stance was. It was great to let the CCA executive committee look at it, but I personally, and I think a lot of my committees would feel more comfortable if we let everybody else have a look at it, but I don't know if we want to open that can of right now. I don't know. So, but we looked at it and said, gave our feedback, so yeah.
I mean, they were increases across the board, so I wouldn't see where it would be perceived as a negative.
I think the, one confusion was, the way how you could go about, when we talked about just substitute pay, we talked about the other changes, what we talked about, I was going to talk about.
There were 2 different things in there, yes.
So, yeah, it's fine to talk about how because subs occur because of the.
Absenteeism. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So,
So I guess, as far enough away, so I might take this off, just quickly. But we just had a question about, we agree with the idea of paid time off as opposed to having the 2 different, distinctions, and we agree with the idea that it generates like trust, that basically you trust that I'm a professional, if I need to be gone, I'm gone for a good reason. There just was some confusion about how do I go about getting those days off, because it's like, if I'm being gone for more than 2 days, I gotta get permission, well, that's almost more restrictive than what we have, I don't know, there was just some confusion about how that would work.
It was 4, kind of.
Oh, okay, that's good, all right, I think that would be, yeah, because if you're gonna be gone for more than 4 days, obviously you're going to the doctor or something big's going on, so I think that
It was
would
in the
work.
packet, it was in your packet.
No, I've read it.
Yeah.
I don't understand, I've totally read this, but
Right.
this is way far from where
It
Matt and
went
I's
from
conversation and
It
bringing
went
this.
from substitute pay to something else.
Yeah,
yes.
so I'm lost, like,
Mm-hmm.
how did we get to here from where we were just talking about a daily rate for a sub pay?
So I can answer that.
Okay, great.
That was my next question because of the numbers of it.
This issue of having no substitutes or very few substitutes is not new.
Nope.
And it's not exclusive to
Marshall. It is happening everywhere. So we formed this committee, fall of 19. Because we decided, I mean, I personally was one that was like, gosh, if somebody's gone and we don't have a sub, I know at the middle school and high school, they have a little bit of flexibility with filling in via plan periods and having other people cover. But at the elementary level, and I know in my building, that's not an option. You know, you can't do that. In my building, all of my teachers have the same plan time. So you know, it's just a problem. So we formed the committee through different conversations where everyone was experiencing this. And so our challenge was to, well, we basically had two at the very top. We wanted to, one, seek out more qualified subs, and two, incentivize staff to use less time off. So those were our two tasks to begin with.
Okay.
We did, I think it's right there in the beginning, we did talk about increasing sub pay at that time, but at that time, it had very recently been increased. And we felt that it was very competitive with surrounding areas. Now, since then, and obviously through COVID, I know a lot of districts have increased their sub pay. And I know Matt mentioned that last meeting. We are not at all opposed to that. That just wasn't part of our initial plan when we discussed it.
Okay.
And so, we were actually supposed to present this to you all, I think in March or April of last year. But that just didn't, because of COVID, we didn't get there. Because it had been in front of the admin team already, and we were ready for that next step, and it just didn't make it that far, and here we are a year later. And I would like to add that we were wanting to make sure that we find a way to have our teachers say, want to come to work, versus having them say, oh, you know, it's just a sick day, you know, if I stay long enough, I'm only gonna get $20. We are looking for ways to incentivize our staff to want to come to work. And, so that's what we really focused on. This, and then also looking at how to get more subs into our building. I had, Valley had posters, Warrensburg had posters. I mean, I had done all that in February. Then here we are. So I mean, we kind of we had done some of the things in that first bullet and trying to advertise more and all of that. And we were getting people coming in last year prior to COVID coming in. And our numbers, you know, were increasing.
So that, excuse me, this is what you guys had talked about already, basically, okay. All right. It just
Okay.
kind of fit into the subject when it came up. All right, I was just kind of confused, what, because we had just, no, it worked.
You did a good job.
Good job, because it worked thoroughly, so.
Well, we looked, I know Kristen did a lot of legwork getting, other schools in our area and in our conference, and we poured through their policies to compare to see what other districts were doing. So that, and we didn't include all that information, but basically we kind of, what we found, we kind of, you know, cherry picked from different, well, we like this idea of accruing this many days or paying out at this rate or whatever. So we came up with what we thought was best fit margin.
So back to the rate that you came up with. So was that like an average rate between schools that you saw, or
It's lower than a lot of schools.
lower than a lot of schools?
A lot of schools were closer to what they pay their subs for.
Yeah. Several were like 75% of the sub pay.
Of sub-pay. It listed as sub-pay, not as,
We originally talked about doing like a percentage, but then in the end, we thought maybe just a flat $50.
You only have and or 50% of what the sub pay is.
Yes.
That's correct. And or, so that this would not have to.
I'm gonna ask you the
change
golden
every time the
question.
sub pay.
fluctuated.
Yeah,
Mhm.
because we
All of this should be in discussion of salaries and benefits.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
This is gonna be a permanent increase for our subs from here on out, and I think that's just into the $100 a day. So that was another thing we weren't sure if this is forever or not, so that's what we set the annual.
Am I mistaken to think that this should be discussed and part of the salary and the salary schedule discussion as we, I guess, I don't know that this is the right place for this either.
There's two different themes going on kind of in
Right.
here. And it's moved from a little bit in my mind to be what we're paying subs to what we compensate at the end of careers. And those are two different things and would take a lot of other numbers for me to look at to be okay with even considering that it's a 50% increase? Going from 20 to 50? So,
And that was another thing that, it didn't halt our work, but it probably slowed us down a little bit, because getting the number of actually how many days all of our teachers have accrued time is not an easy report. You just punch in and it spits out, so it was gonna take some manpower for us to do that, and we just hadn't found the time to put that manpower in. And we even brought that up again when we were on our calls prior to presenting this to you all tonight, was we know that we have no numbers to provide to you of what this would cost. We're very aware of that, and it was because of the manpower time, am I correct? Yeah, that it would take to get that for you all.
I
So-
would really like to encourage those of you all, and a lot of you have a place with the CTA, but a lot of what you've talked about here really should go into our talks about salaries and benefits. Because the sick days, the pay time off, all of those issues come up when we talk about benefits. There are a number of schools that have increased their daily rate to pay for sick days, but most of them have an amount where there is a ceiling. They either pay out what's the excess, or they grandfather in somehow to get everybody back in a starting place that doesn't bankrupt the district.
Right.
But I want to really encourage you, take all of the things that you've come up with here and move that into this discussion about benefits.
Well, when I was reading it, of course, it seemed a lot like a way to save on substitute pay, or the need for substitutes, but also like a recruitment and retention argument as well. So it would definitely be something we'd want to dig a little deeper into.
Mindy, do we still have a fringe benefit committee out of CTA?
We have
Was it-
we have a salary benefits committee, yeah.
Okay, because we used to separate salary and fringe benefit. This used to come out of fringe benefit. 'Cause I remember we talked about this back when I was teaching, and that was the dark ages. So
So this,
the numbers haven't changed. Surprising.
So does anyone want to take any action here? Matt, we have not yet really, in substance, returned to the conversation of subpay that you had raised. So I definitely want to make sure to nod toward you and say, is there a direction you'd like to go in?
Well, definitely, probably over the summer. I think it's something we should look at with all of this whenever we talk about these things. I mean, we have a month or so left to school. I was a little fired up the last meeting to get it done, but, if we can put it all together and make it work for subs, make it work for the staff we have, and everyone, is happy, then we can get it done all at once.
Okay, so it would be fair to say that we just expect to hear back about, Dr. Mayer, then when might we hear back about this? Your discussions will take place over the next few months about salary and benefits, or weeks?
the CTA has been working to gather information about insurance. And usually when they are finished or at least have a good idea, they get in touch with me and we set up time to talk about salaries. They bring me their recommendations, their requests, and we sit down and then come up with a recommendation or request for the board.
Right.
So usually that happens in April.
that's next
I'd say
month.
that's not the summer, yeah,
So-
Yeah,
it
that's
would
next
be
month,
before the
yeah.
summer.
I mean, regarding like increasing sub pay, would it be possible to, and it doesn't have to be exact, but would it be possible to get some idea of if we two-handed it, what would the impact to the district be if we increase sub pay compared to what the impact would be if we went to, say, the first proposal, or the 50 per day for payout.
What would it cost to do both?
What would the impact to the district be for either or?
Okay,
One way.
okay.
It's pretty hard to predict, as I recall.
Well,
We
and
tried
that's
it
what I'm saying, and maybe
Might be
just like what it
comparing.
was
Yeah,
in 20,
Because we used to try to do it, you
19.
never know if one person's gonna end
I
up.
can look at the numbers of absences, et
For the
cetera,
60 days.
from the last couple, 3 years.
Or you could even, I mean,
I don't know if this year would be
compare
a good
2019,
year.
2020
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you need to. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
I know it's the past, but
Mhm.
it would still give us some kind of an idea.
Any other discussion or questions? We're just going to not take any action, so, unless anybody wants to propose it. If not, then we're going to move along to the under new business, working curriculum committee update. From Ms. Zoll.
Diane, do you want to just let me know when to advance? Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I think it was, I don't know, maybe it was January? No, it was December, actually, right before our holiday break, that the request from the board came to put together a curriculum working committee. And instead of having all of you on it, where it would actually be a real meeting, we brought in just 2 of you all, and that was Dr. Meyer and Mr. Carroll. And so I worked with our current instructional coach team, and then I also brought in 2 or 3 of our previous instructional coaches, Mrs. Albertson, Mrs. Jacoby, and Mrs. Dobbins, because they had kind of been here for the progression since we really started diving deep into curriculum writing. And so Mr. Carroll had kind of collected questions from you all, and we presented this to them, I believe, in January. And then, I'm sorry, I'm kind of off on my time. And then we came back together, cleaned it up a little bit. They've seen what I'm presenting to you tonight and said that this was what they were looking for at this time. Again, if there's further questions, I can bring, and I know that there's more work to be done, but this is kind of the groundwork for this. So, Dr. Mayer. So one of the questions we had was, how did we identify the gaps from spring of 2020 when we closed school in mid-March and did not open again until September? So there was a lot of this going on in the background that I don't know that people really knew what we were doing as educators. All of our teachers met in the spring, and we identified the standards by 3 ways, and we color-coded them, red, green, or yellow. So red was not taught. Yellow was taught, but the students still needed to practice or to master that skill. And then green was, wow, the kids were rocking and rolling on that. So that's what we had all of our teachers pre-K through 12 take care of. So they met as a grade level, and some buildings went ahead and decided to go ahead and do a vertical meeting in March, or I'm sorry, it was probably May. Sorry, wrong M1. In May, because we have a lot of teachers who do work on planning over the summer, so they wanted to make sure that that information was in the students' hands. So we only met vertically going up. So our 4th grade teachers was telling 5th grade teachers, here's our red, green, and yellows. But then in August, there was also another time that was put into those extra days that you all granted us for professional development. And they met with grade level and or content, kind of depending what division it was. And they revisited the data from spring so that it was back in front of their faces. And they met with the grade level above again. If they had already done it in May, they had to do it again in August. And they also then worked together creating assessments to address standards that were introduced but not mastered. And I encourage them, hey, talk to that grade level prior. If they've already written the assessment, don't write the assessment. But if we need an assessment, we need to write the assessment. So they were given time in August to do that. And so we are continuing monitoring those standards based on the Missouri Learning Standards. We give pre and post tests throughout the district, and those students are assessing, our teachers are assessing those wherever they may have embedded them in curriculum. Will you change the slide, please? So this is just kind of an example, and I'm sorry, your copies were not colored. I don't want to have the color copy wizard come after me, so I didn't make you all. That would be Dr. Lorenz. I do believe on the one, because I was supposed to present this last month, but you guys had a longer meeting, so I didn't. I believe on that one last month I did write percentages, so I apologize I didn't do that again this month. So this is an example of elementary 4th grade math that it looks like we had About over half of them, they taught it, but they didn't feel like the students mastered it. And then we had one for first grade ELA. 50% said that we taught it. Can you switch the slide? Sorry. 50% was at that we taught it, but it was still not mastered. So that's how they did it in elementary. They did a pie chart, and then this was shared by the specific standards. They were encouraged to do their essential learning outcomes, but most buildings went through and did a majority of all of their standards. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen, if you print off just K-5 standards, they're about this thick. So that's a lot of standards that they were looking at. But they were encouraged mainly to do their essential learning outcomes. So if you go to the next slide, Dr. Mayer. Beaker did the same color, or the same 3, 2, 1. I don't know that they color coded, but that's how they thought about it, was the red, green, and yellow. And then if you go to the next slide, Dr. Mayer, they listed the standard descriptor, and then you can also see how will it be addressed in that final, that far right column. And so I always use the example, I'll never forget, Mrs. Welch, if you're listening, I'm going to give you a shout out. We were talking about math, and one of the standards that they had not addressed was a geometry standard. And one of their conversations was, is this something that we need to do as soon as we get back into school in August, or is it something we need to embed throughout the year? And Mrs. Welch said, well, I don't teach geometry till like February. Why would I teach this standard in August? They don't need it. So they started having really in-depth conversations as where can I give this 6th grade standard to master 7th grade math. And so there was a lot of conversation. That was not just in middle school, that was happening everywhere. But she was the one who really pointed that out to me, because my thought is we have to come in August and we got to teach all these standards we didn't master. Well, if it didn't make sense to teach it then, the teacher was like, we have to wait till we start to need it for geometry or whatever it was. So some of the things were boot camp style, and some were like when we first got back to school, I know probably the little ones did a little bit more boot camp. We needed to just revisit sight words and colors or whatever it was. So it was done a little bit differently at every division. And so then I think the next is just an example from the high school, so that you all did see that we did collect the same information at the Career Center and then the high school. So that is the work we have been, so this is also, if you talk to the instructional coaches and principals and teachers, they all know that this information should be right there when they're writing lesson plans or when they're looking at curriculum, to make sure we've embedded it where we need to throughout the year. So some of our pre and post assessments might be a little bit longer, because we might not be putting a standard in until October, when that standard should have been met in the previous grade, but we're not reteaching it until October of the next year. So this has given us an opportunity to have it in front of our teachers. It is revisited. I don't know if I should say this when this is being streamed, but I will. I think this was such a rewarding, and we shared this with Dr. Meyer and Mr. Carroll, this was such a rewarding experience that teachers felt like they got so much out of it. I would really like to do it again this spring, so that because we have had another somewhat crazy year, although we've obviously had a lot more instruction than we did in those last 6 or 8 weeks of school last year, but have them do this again to see if we're caught up or there's still some holes we need to take care of. I think COVID's going to impact us for a little longer than just this current school year, so we're going to have to keep up on it. So that is something that we're looking at doing during May. So are there any questions about this work that we did last year, spring into this year, and it's a continued work? Any questions from you all?
I would encourage the thing you just talked about, because when I met with these people a couple of different times when we met, the thing that impressed me most was the vertical alignment and discussion going up and down. I don't know that we've had enough of that before, but it was impressive to hear them talking about first grade, second grade, third grade, especially for me, always it was high school. And that was really impressive. And if we could bring that back in, because I put down here in my note, I think this was a plus for our overall curriculum throughout the school, a positive out of the negative. From what I saw in the meetings I attended, it was just.
Is this something that we've done prior, or is this just something that we were forced to look at somewhat?
A little bit of both. We've always analyzed our data that we get to see where our standards fall that we need to improve on, and that's then become our essential learning outcomes for our curriculum. This is the first time we've ever done anything this, and the reason we did it is because we missed 6 or 8 weeks of instruction. So there's obviously something that might be introduced in a classroom in, let's say, April that we never touched. So those were our reds. Like, we didn't get to that because I didn't get to that unit yet, because we were just not in school. And I will say that because we're adding things this year to make up for this gap, We might be a little off on our units again this year, trying to do that
I
catch-up.
would
So
say, is this something we should continue this
I
conversation?
wholeheartedly would highly suggest that to the district to continue to do that. Also, a little bit of a, no, this is a huge shout out. We attended some professional development in the spring. DESE had quite a bit going on. And had different organizations supporting that, and they asked the participants in the webinar what we were doing, and we shared out. One of our instructional coaches, Mrs. Baker, shared out, and the presenter said, "Can I have that to share in my afternoon session?" Yeah. So Marshall was presented all over the state of Missouri for the work we had already done, and we were ahead of the game. And so this was not a lone idea from myself. This was principals and instructional coaches coming up with how are we going to do this, and so we showed the rest. We literally sent our form to them so that they knew, and they just had to plug in what they needed to do. So I thought that was kind of cool. It was going all over the state of Missouri. So thank you to Mrs. Baker and the IC team for taking care of that. So any other questions about this part? Okay. The last part we're going to talk about, and Mrs. Lance kind of brought up that thank you to Kim and Renee for talking a little bit more about Acellus. We were at a point where I think it is going really well. I feel like it's very streamlined for our teachers, for our parents, for our students. But what we did want to do was to go in and make sure that we took our curriculum and our standards that are our essential learning outcomes that students must learn, but we feel are the most important things to learn while they're in a certain grade, and put it against Acellus's curriculum. So this might not make sense to you when you all are reading. I'm sure what you read makes sense, but the colors probably don't make sense. What we did, and I think this is a first grade math example here, we went through and pulled a unit for them, looked at the standards they were covering, and then found where that was aligned in our current curriculum. We did it for every grade, but not for every unit yet, because it is a very time-consuming very time-consuming thing, and I was like, I can't be pulling instructional coaches out every day to come do this. We need them in classrooms helping teachers. So we did do a kind of a sporadic throughout every division, pre-K through Career Center, and it is aligned very well. We did find a few holes. I emailed Acellus, and they're saying, okay, let us help you take care of that. But they weren't holes that were big enough that we thought that our students were not going to progress efficiently. So those are what those last, I'm not going to read them to you because you all are very intelligent people and can read it yourself, but we did find that they are aligned quite well. And mind you, that's just a unit review. Some of the times we were going in and literally looking at every lesson and saying, oh, here's multiplication that we are looking for. It just isn't listed as a hot topic in their unit overview. And I did want to address the fact that Renee mentioned that her students were going through it a little faster. Remember, those videos are being made for kindergarten and first graders. So they're about 3 or 5 minutes long. Whereas if you watch a middle school one, they're a little bit longer. So I think that's, and those students have, a lot of it's letters and sight words. It's stuff that they have been given a lot of attention to already. So I did want to point that out. It wasn't enough work. It was just, they're not as long, lengthy lessons as you're going to see in our middle and high school, our upper and middle and high, because that's not happening anywhere else. That there are a few kids, but not a lot of them. So anyway, are there any questions about anything I've shared with you tonight in relation to where our curriculum is? Or where these pieces are. I do know that we also did a presentation to them, and I can share it at another time. I just wanted to keep this as short as possible tonight, but we did give them an update of what has been completed, and there's just a few holes, and it's mainly our singletons, our people with multiple preps in the middle and high school. If you're teaching 6 or 7 preps, that's a lot more curriculum to write with than if you teach English 1 all day long. So, and they were very aware, and I think they were surprised. I don't think that they knew how much of it, maybe I'm speaking wrong, but they were like, oh, it's looking pretty good. And that has not been a focus for this year, was writing any curriculum. I didn't want to put that on teachers' plates, but that will be left for Mrs. Jacoby to make sure she does next year for you all. So it is coming back on the plate on those 12:30 outs next year. So, any questions?
Questions, follow-ups? Great. Well, it looks good, and it was edifying hearing from all of you. And it was nice to have just a frank conversation about what was working, what wasn't working, what our concerns were. So it was a productive conversation, was it not?
I thought so.
Yeah. So thank you.
And we appreciate your time that you gave us.
Sure.
And then if you want to let me know our next steps, I'll make sure that gets transferred to the future copy to the vote.
All right. Okay, moving forward to the food service contract. This is an action item.
Oh, this was Grace's.
Sound effects.
Are you done?
So I don't know if you've had time to review. If you have questions, I just want to briefly touch on what you're looking at and why we're looking at it. We did just recently renew our food service contract, and in that contract, there was a 5-year price sheet. And so what we're agreeing to, or what I'm asking you to agree to, is just specifically the second year, and it's exactly the same as what we originally agreed to in the 5-year plan. Just every year they will give us, this is where we're at this year, and they're updating us. So it is everything we have already seen, already agreed to.
I was going to ask that exact question. Didn't we do this, or did I dream it?
No,
Okay.
no.
I think that was our first
5-year
meeting,
progression.
so that's why I'm like, I feel like we just did this.
But to be clear, this is not adding on.
No.
No.
No, so it's, the original contract has a 5-year sheet with every single price on it. This is just for the second year. Each year we will do this through that 5-year process. And I double-checked the numbers, they are exactly the same as presented in the original contract.
Any other questions, follow-ups? Anybody want to make a motion?
So move. We accept Grace's proposal for the food service contract for the next year.
Second.
Second. Any further questions, discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Next, we've got an action item as well, setting meal prices for the 2021-2022 school year.
Okay, so in the packet that you got, I went ahead and gave you meal prices historically from 1819, 1920, last year, and then my proposal for this year. Historically, we have raised meal prices 10 cents every year to incur cost of living increases, food increase. Last year, because of COVID, we decided not to increase our prices to give our families a break. Every year, we're required to do what's called the paid lunch equity tool. This is from DESE that lets us know how much we should raise our prices to be in compliance. This year, we need to raise prices 10 cents to be in compliance. So that is my proposal, to raise at the minimum the 10 cents.
I'll make a motion, we raise the 10 cents
Second.
price of the meal says. Recommended, that's read in the paper by Mr. Durham.
I believe I will second the 10 cents as Harry was going.
My muddled motion, it was because of the mask.
Any further questions or discussion?
That's just for lunch meals, there's no increase on breakfast at all?
Yeah, I was going to say breakfast was
According to
115, I thought, straight out.
Both, we were legal on that.
And this will be on staff and student. So that,
Yeah, adults.
adult or, yeah.
Any other questions?
That's all I got.
Call question?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you, Doctor.
Next, we have the 2021 summer school approval.
So this was not, normally I could go back to a previous document, pull out what summer school looked like prior, and change a few numbers, change it around a little bit, and I could present that. This took a lot more time and head work with our principals to make sure that we were still being consistent with what we had put in place for COVID. Dr. Mayer did mention we would like to offer a second session in July. I hope to present what that would look like to you all next month. This month I wanted to focus on this one because it falls within this fiscal year. And this is more of a traditional summer school. This is what we have done is I've asked every principal to work with their teachers to look at data on what students we want to bring in, because obviously if we offer it to
When the spaceship appears, I'm running. I'm not running, actually. I'm going to hobble out of here. Shut this one off.
Ed's volunteering to shut his mic
What's
off.
he getting feedback from? She's not needing that there.
It sounds like mine's pretty high.
Are we good to go again? Good. Okay. So, we're focusing on trying to keep our class sizes a little bit smaller in summer school. Spainhauer is proposing that based on the data we collected, we need to target about 375 students to come out from kindergarten through 4th grade. Usually in summer school, if you are a 3rd grader, you go to summer school as a 4th grader. We do not want to do that this year. We want to leave them in their current grade to help with some of that data we just showed you to provide opportunities for learning for that gap that came through in COVID. So everybody will stay in their current grade level. We will not be offering our preschoolers anything just because we need the classroom space for our kindergartners through our 4th graders out here in this building. So they will be running an 8 to 1, an 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we would like to offer that the teachers are focused to minimize their planning time. We would have they would kind of team teach, not literally together, but they would switch where one teacher is focused on math and science and the other teacher is ELA and social studies. And then those teachers would flip-flop halfway through and we would offer PE and library here. We would, knowing that the young kids might be somewhere going after 1 o'clock, we would like to offer somewhat of a camp opportunity for them out here for our kindergarten and 4th graders, utilizing some of our paraprofessionals that are sub-certified along with some of our certified staff to offer STEM. I've listed some of the things we talked about: STEM, art, outdoor exploration, getting fit, theater, just something that they could rotate, either the teacher rotate, depending where our numbers are, and have stations for the kids, something like that from 1 to 3. We have learned that about 1 o'clock on a nice June day when it's really pretty out, our students' engagement starts to dwindle. And it's very hard to keep them engaged in the younger grades especially, and it was sometimes can turn into 2 o'clock, we're going to put a movie in. We would rather really have focused instruction from that 8 o'clock to 1 o'clock time frame and then let them have, they're still going to be learning through all these other things at camp, but it won't be sitting in a seat and getting more hands-on activities like we would do in normal instruction time. So that is what it's going to kind of look like at the elementary. The middle school, Mrs. Brown is predicting about 200 of her students need to be in seat, and she will pair her teachers up with 5th and 6th grade students together, 7th and 8th grade, wants to offer PE and then a self-care and wellness class where we kind of brainstorm some fun names for it, like Meditate Monday, Take a Pose Yoga Tuesday. So those kids are just learning some things to make them take care of themselves. Healthy Snack Wednesday, whatever. And then that would be their 2 specials, but they would rotate through classes like they normally do from the 8 to 1. If we have some students who need camp, she doesn't foresee that we might need that too much, but if we do, we will take care of either getting them down here, busing them to here so that we could keep camp in one building, but we're just not sure what those numbers look like. High school has always been this way. It's very hard for us to tell you how many numbers of students we might need because it is a credit recovery-based summer program. And that is usually decided, about 3 days before school is out. So I don't have the numbers, but Mr. Virts is looking at running it mainly through a CELIS and only bringing in those tier 3 students who truly need to be face-to-face with the teacher for some time to help in those core content areas. And so that's what it will look like at the high school. And he is looking at, we've always offered for our students who want to get ahead on credits, offering health and personal finance during the summer. That will be offered too, but he's going to use a CELIS as much as possible so that we could focus on putting some in-seater kids down at our younger grades where we feel that they can't work as diligently at home by themselves on the CELIS. We will be utilizing the CELIS during summer school at all grade levels though for our distance learners, and we're also wanting to identify some of those students who might not need to be in seat, but they still need a little bit of practice. They could do a CELIS at home. So we will be using a CELIS throughout summer school. And so we do kind of have a new role we've never had at summer school, and that's our CELIS monitors to help our distance learning students who need summer school, but they don't want to come in seat. They probably haven't been in seat this year, who did not fall into that tier 3 of help. They could be put on, we call them our bubble kiddos. They don't need to be here for remediation or extreme help, but they need some help still, just some support, credit recovery, and then summer school would be offered, CELIS will be offered during the entire month of June. But if we have some students who need to go a little bit longer because it's taking them a little longer to finish. The nice thing about Acellus is it doesn't turn off. They can work through July to get those, for the high school students mainly, and also some of our DNF students at middle school to get those credits back through Acellus. If it takes until July 31st, it's Acellus. It's okay. We don't have to have a physical person with them. It's something that the teachers who would be monitoring can do at home. So that is the best laid out plan, I think, principals that are here with me, that we could do and still take COVID into consideration, but also address the gaps that we have from learning. I will tell you what we're kind of talking about for July is it kind of being a jump start offered to anybody who wants to come, and it's going to be a workshop style where they're coming in and just working maybe an hour on 2 or 3 different cores that they are identified they need help with, but anybody can come in. And we would also offer that to our preschoolers coming into kindergarten, because they've never walked through a lunch line yet, because their lunches are taken to them in the classroom, but to kind of practice what does it mean to walk beyond my classroom and go do those things. So we will offer that jump start. I don't think we're going to call it that. That's not the right word. We haven't come up with a name yet. But that would be in July. So we are looking at offering that to all students in the district. This is really just to make sure we're taking care of some of those gaps that might still be there. Any questions, thoughts? I
Yes,
talked
got
really
2
fast. I'm sorry.
questions for you.
Yes.
How do parents, or how do the kids sign up, or how do the parents get their kids signed up? And is there going to be a deadline that they have to meet?
So I couldn't start to advertise this till I had approval from you all, but I have the email all ready to go out to the district by the end of this week that'll talk about, we'll be doing a couple things. Summer school registration is open, that they will need to, the teachers will be contacting those students that we have identified that need to be here. And so that will be through their teachers. We usually do it at about 3rd quarter parent-teacher conferences. We're just off schedule a little bit. I don't know if it was the meeting or what happened with it this time, but we're off schedule a little bit. So our schools will be reaching out to the students who need to come. If we have some parents who say no, then we have the list. We'll just keep moving down the list to fill those seats. Just because we say 375 and only 300 say yes, we're going to fill those other 75 seats. So that's how. And then the second question, I'm sorry. Oh, is there going to be a deadline? I don't think we've really ever had a deadline before. By a certain, it's mainly transportation that we have to have that for, but Craig is pretty good, and he'll say, if somebody tells us on the first day of summer school, I just can't get you on a bus for 2 days, he'll get you on a bus in 2 days.
Ms. Brown also brought up staffing or availability of people to be in those seats, or teachers to teach those seats.
Yes. Right, so yeah, I don't remember. We haven't had summer school for 3 years now, so it's been a while since. So yeah, to just make sure we have the right number of staff also, we will have to put a deadline on. But we've never turned anybody away if they're one that's been identified as needing to be here. So, thank you, Mrs. Brown.
Other questions, follow-ups? Diane, did you talk about student-teacher ratio?
It's in the proposal, 15 to 20. 15 to 20 in elementary, and then middle school is also about a 15 to 20 student ratio.
So,
of our in-seat students.
Okay.
And then if you're an Acellus monitor, you could have up to 25 students, and it's paid per student that's on your list. So if there's only 5 third graders who need it, you would make $100 per Acellus student that would be on your roster.
And I just wanted to make sure that if the classes were starting to look too large in your mind, that we do have funding from the ESSER funds for summer school. So I just wanted to make sure that if the ratios start to look, a little bit lopsided, that we can take care of that.
And I did actually add a couple extra staff, more than what we asked for, to keep our ratio. From what we thought would be our bare minimum, like, let's add a couple extra just so if we look like they're getting too big, we can do that.
Thanks.
And then we would obviously, at the Spanehard building, we would have 2 administrators out here with almost 400 kids. Middle school will have 1, and then high school, Mr. Burtz would oversee what students are coming in and out of the building. And we have some interns we're going to also employ during that time for them to get some experience.
Now, the higher, with the Acellus monitors, maybe it doesn't matter. To what extent does subject matter expertise matter?
He would like to have one in every core content. So I would not sign up to be the math one if I'm in English language arts. He would like to have an SLS monitor for each content area. Because it'll really be based on the credit recovery. If we have 50 students who need science credit recovery, but only 20 students who need ELA credit, it's going to be based on that. So yes, he wants to have one in every core content for sure, but we don't know how many. He might need two if we have a lot more people, a lot more students who need those. And we foresee that we probably will more than a normal year.
Other questions, follow-ups? Then we need a motion.
We'll make a motion, we accept the 2021 summer school approval.
Second.
Any further, any last discussion, questions, et cetera? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Need a motion to adjourn to closed session.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Aye.
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 Aye.